and I'm going to start on Facebook Live. If I can find the Facebook Live now. Seriously, it's a lot.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hi, everyone.
I missed my book club, Jeannie, because they sent here's the link for tomorrow night, and then the facilitator forwarded it, said tomorrow night. It was Thursday night. I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's Wednesday night. It's not till tomorrow night. And I the whole thing. And my book club was like another lifeline during all this time.
Okay, we're about to go. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeannie Ralston. I'm the co-founder of Next Tribe, and we have started doing something called the Tribe Cooks, and we have had different people cooking for us, and it's really fun because we're just sitting there, we're watching, we're getting to see inside somebody's kitchen. We've had some other fun events around that. Sometimes we have wine, depending on the time. But today we have Patricia Greenberg-Grunfeld, and she's written 4 cookbooks. She has 30 years as a nutritional consultant and fitness. You do fitness also, right? With that. So, and she's in LA, and she's going to talk to us about making dishes with what you normally have on hand in your fridge or your pantry, which is a great thing for many, at all times, but specifically now if we're under lockdown or don't want to go to the grocery store so often. And very interesting, Patricia and her husband actually contracted COVID and went through the 2 or 3 weeks, and she wrote a story about it. And so as I said, she's now not only an expert on cooking, but also on getting through COVID. So you can feel free to ask her any questions. I'm going to unmute everyone so you can feel free to take part, and it's not formal. And just act like you're sitting around Patricia's kitchen, if that's okay with you, Patricia.
Yeah, absolutely. I welcome it.
Thank you for being here, Patricia.
Thank you for having me. So I will start out briefly about the COVID, because I think it's an important thing to talk about, and this all ties into what we're talking about today, is that we've been in the house since March 14th. And I actually had a surgery. I had a parathyroid surgery, parathyroid removed on February 28th. And so I hadn't left the house since then for one food shopping trip and one visit to synagogue. We had a holiday. And we think that's where we got it. So we went, and the precautions were already in place, and we got home. Maybe you don't need all the details of that, but a few days later, my husband started to not feel well. And my daughter was studying abroad in Israel for the year. So it was just the 2 of us here. And in the afternoon, he had a 99 fever. And by that night, he was 102.9. And that went on for 3 weeks. And the roller coaster ride of him being sick was horrible. He lost 11 pounds in 3 days. He looked terrible. And I kept calling the doctor in the hospital. We're located in Los Angeles, and our local hospital is Cedars-Sinai, world renowned. And they said, don't bring him in until he can't breathe. And, who knows what that means? And this just went on for weeks. My aunt called me up and she said, did Aaron lose his sense of taste and smell? Because that's one of the symptoms. I said, I don't think so. And my heart dropped to the floor because I realized my breakfast tastes like cardboard. And then I couldn't smell the coffee. And it went on. And then, needless to say, a couple of days later, I was very ill. And in the middle of all that, we had to extract my daughter out of Israel because they were closing the country down. She came home. We quarantined her in her own bedroom and bathroom for 2 weeks. So now we're like 3-4 weeks into this. And thank God we've all recovered. There was nothing we could do except take Tylenol and water and figure out, build up enough of an appetite to eat. And the only concerns I had was that everybody was breathing. I mean, that became the bare minimum, that became the baseline. My husband and I subsequently got tested for antibodies, and we both have them. We were told we had a very strong immune response. The doctor said right now that he feels confident we have some immunity, but we still need to follow all the precautions. So for anybody out there, I want everybody to know that there's survivor stories, there's happy endings due to all the horrible stuff we're hearing about. And in conjunction with my work, I am going to teach 4 recipes today, all healthy, mostly vegetarian, of things that you already have in the house. But the line of defense against this, and if in the unlikely event you do get it or get symptoms, what we're finding is lots and lots of antioxidants. So that's colorful food, colorful fruits and vegetables. I make sure everybody in the house has 1 to 2 oranges a day. We're all taking vitamin D tablets. And exercise. If you live in an apartment, in a house, we are fortunate to have a 2-story house, so we're all going up and down the stairs all day, actually is part of our fitness routine. But anything you can do, any movement will help. So having said that, I do want to get started. The recipes I'm doing today, we will send to everybody when we're done. My daughter is here. She's my co-author, my co-chef, and my production assistant. And together we wrote this book. It's one of my books. It's called Scrumptious Sandwiches, Salads, and Snacks. And funny enough, based on what do you have in the house? Because when I was putting this together, I thought, let's do something for families. So I was here, my husband, my mother-in-law, my daughter, my stepson. And the age range went from 15 to 92. So you can imagine trying to feed all those multi-generational families in the house is a wonderful thing, and I believe very strongly in it. If you can live together, it actually is a wonderful thing for the family, but it's hard to feed everybody with all their different tastes. So my daughter said to me, Mommy, I don't think you know what teenagers eat. I said, well, why don't you tell me? So we did some market research at her high school, and we tried some recipes out. So together we came up with this. There's 50 recipes. Like I said, we're doing 4 of them today, and we'll send you them when we're done. So Gabriella, can I do that to get started? So the first thing I always say, this is all too true now, is life is short, eat dessert first. You know, you're hearing that. What I always say is cooking is limited, so make dessert first, because often when we put together our ingredients and our things out to do our meal, we forget that maybe dessert might take an hour or 2 to cook, or maybe it's something that needs to be left overnight. So we make all our food and we go to make dessert, and it's a longer procedure than we had planned on. So the item that takes the longest to cook, do that first. Secondly, get all of your ingredients out in front of you and measured as much as you possibly can beforehand. And I'm also going to, like I said, I have everything measured out. And I will, again, people ask me, if you want a great technique on how to cut up an onion, I'll show you a bell pepper. Because people who like to cook and enjoy it will take those measures. You can also buy pre-cut, frozen, whichever approach that you take, you'll still get the end result, a nice finished product. So like I said, we're going to do, Gabriella, can you take the picture of the chocolate truffles in the book, and we'll show everybody the finished product. It's on page 115. And so what I'm doing is it's chocolate dessert, but we're going to sneak in some healthy items here too, some coconut and carrots. If you have whole carrots in your refrigerator rather than shredded, or you have full whole carrots or baby carrots, they're all workable. So let's take this out. This is the truffles, yeah. Mm-hmm. Can you see that picture? Everybody see?
Can you maybe come a little, maybe Gabriella can come a little closer. Yeah. Ooh, yum, okay.
Yeah, so that's the finished product. And so the first thing we're gonna start with is I measure this out. Gabby, we do another hone in too.
Yep.
You bring this over to them so
Okay.
they can leave it situated.
Yeah.
So I put all my ingredients together, measured out first, and here's a little trick I thought of today. You know, I have these cupcake liners. Instead of making all my dishes dirty, I can use those to measure out the ingredients ahead of time. And sometimes you can, if it's mostly perishable and non-perishable, but I will make it ahead of time, sometimes the night before, saran wrap around it, put it in the refrigerator, so when I'm ready to cook, all the ingredients are already pre-measured out. So we're going to use the Cuisinart. This is really loud. I might have to end up muting it because, as you know, the noise of this is excruciating. So like I said, we're doing chocolate carrot truffles. It calls for carrots, coconut, almonds, cashews, peanut butter, maple syrup, cinnamon, and ground ginger, cocoa powder, and vanilla. So what I always like to say is this calls for almonds and cashews, but if you have other nuts in your house, you have peanuts, you have walnuts, you have hazelnuts, it all works. So what the idea of what you have in your house and using up what you have in your house means that. I'd hate for you to say, I don't have almonds, I'm gonna run out to the store. It's very challenging to go food shopping right now. So just use whatever nut that you do have. So what I do is I take one at a time. The carrots, if you have whole carrots, just chop them up and you can throw them in. The Cuisinart will break them up. You can use shredded, and that's what I did. Is I have shredded carrots and coconut. You can use dry, you can sweeten, unsweetened, it's all fine. Again, the idea to use what you have. I have almonds, I have cashews, and you know, this recipe calls for maple syrup, but if you don't have maple syrup, you can use honey. If you don't have honey, you can use pancake syrup. And again, it's that idea of what do you have in the house, what can you use that's easy and convenient.
So are you just trying, for that, you're trying to use something sweet and sticky? So
yes, yes, exactly. It's the consistency and a sweetener rather than sugar, because we're trying to keep that to a minimum. So this particular recipe, I actually had an open container of honey. So I'm just putting that in. And like I said, you can use maple syrup, pancake syrup, and the peanut butter, you can use almond butter, you can use soy nut butter, you can use sunflower butter. That's what happens. Often we buy ingredients thinking, oh, you know what, I'm going to use that, and then you never get to it and it goes bad. So that's why I said don't be afraid to change, substitute items that you normally wouldn't use. And then I took the cinnamon and ginger and mixed it together. Okay, and then the cocoa powder, I have Trader Joe's cocoa powder. You can use Hershey's cocoa powder. And what I do here is I keep my tablespoons and my teaspoon, the equipment loose, so that I can always grab one. And you can use a tablespoon from your drawer, it doesn't matter. Then I put my cocoa powder in. Here's another little trick if you don't want to get too many dishes dirty. A teaspoon of vanilla extract is I just use the cap. So I pour the vanilla in the cap, pour it in, and it's one less dish to get dirty. So Gabriella, we're gonna go ahead and grind this up.
So let me mute you guys for a quick sec.
Okay. I'll talk. Hey everyone, while she's doing that, I'll talk. If you want to put your video on, that's fine. And if you want to be unmuted, that's fine, because this is going to be, we're just talking openly with, this is very relaxed, like when we've done Olga's. Olga, can you say hi?
Hi, let me, I'm just not like, so.
So Olga's done our cooking classes before, so and she'll do some more again, and she has the wine, of course. Gotta have the wine.
Listen, guys, this is the most pleasant part, so because it's less calories.
Yeah. So what I did was, you see, that was less than a minute. That was seconds, and I took all those ingredients, I put them in the Cuisinart, and can everybody see me, or do we need an adjustment on the camera?
Can you see? I'd like to see the consistency when you a little better when you bring it out.
This is the consistency that you're getting. It's a very, very, very thick dough. There's no, it's not runny, it's not viscous, but you see how quick that came out. Yeah. Now I work really quickly with my hands. I take the spatula, and you can use, again, anything you have on hand. I love ice cream scoops. You can use a coffee scooper, okay? And we take it and we put it on a plate lined with some parchment paper. Don't use wax paper, because wax gets into the food. I'm just big on using parchment paper. So you can either scoop it out, but with a scoop, and
Yeah.
Can you see me there?
Yeah.
And so I'll fix it with my fingers, and you just put it in the refrigerator for a couple of minutes and you're ready to go. That's your dessert. You can take the coconut and the carrot and sprinkle it on top. And again, be very creative with your ingredients. If you don't like a combination, if you have something else in your house, and what we're doing is putting all the finished product on the table, and we'll show you that later. So Gabriella,
I actually love putting chocolate chips and coconut flakes on there. That's my vibe.
Oh, cool. So that was easy.
That was 2 seconds. And what you end up having is a plate of chocolate, coconut, carrot, truffles. And we're using truffle. Truffle, as you all know, probably technically is melting the chocolate and dipping it in, but it's an instant way to have an absolutely delicious dessert. Okay, so that was one. So there is, any questions about flavor combinations or things you want to add?
Yes, and you guys, if you can unmute and ask, or you can write in your chat, either one, whatever you're comfortable with? I think there's not questions yet, but I'm sure there will be.
It went by in a blink. Okay.
I know, it's
So,
amazing.
the next item that I'm going to make is they're quiche muffins. And in the book, we call for spinach. Did I lose somebody? Okay, somebody's. Okay. So here what we're doing is, Gab, do you want to crack these eggs for me?
Yeah, I'm just moving over all
that stuff over. So we're using 5 eggs. And what 5 eggs makes is 12 muffins. So here again are the flavor combinations. Why am I doing this as a muffin? I'll tell you why. Because I need the knife and the cutting board back, honey. Okay. And often when you make a quiche, it's so big, and you have to cut it up or you have to freeze it or it doesn't keep. And the whole idea is to use up these ingredients because it's not going to keep. So what I do is make them into muffins, and then I can freeze them. And you can make 12, you can make 24, you can make 36. You can just, all these recipes scale up in direct proportion to what you want to make. So easy. Again, I'm using a disposable muffin tin. I have regular ones. Yeah. No, I needed the chef's knife. Where's the chef's knife? No. And
okay, I'll look up.
Or you can buy the pre-cut up ones. Again, that's something that's very easy. Trader Joe's, the regular supermarket, has it. Can everybody see okay?
Can everybody see okay? Yes, I think so.
Okay, so that's cut up red, green, and yellow bell peppers. Would anyone like a demo on cutting up the bell peppers?
Sure.
Okay, so I have a really quick method of doing that.
And
I need the chef's knife. Yeah, you can grab the black one, will be fine. Okay, and maybe look in the dark for the white one.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are we doing on visibility, okay? You can see that clearly? So the first thing I do, what a lot of people do is cut it this way. What I do is I cut right through the stem, and then I peel the stem out on both sides. And if you have a little bit of seed left, you can shake it out. And then real quickly, there you go. You've got your bell pepper strips.
Gabriella, can you turn it down? Oh, wait, no, I'm seeing it. Never mind. Yes, you got it. Sorry.
So you cut it into strips, and then from there, you can dice it. So again, really quickly, and however many you need, you set them aside. In recipes, you're going to often see maybe like a half a cup of bell peppers or diced bell peppers or cut up bell peppers. I just use 1 bell pepper. That would be kind of the equivalent for me if you're concerned about quantity, because sometimes that is hard to decipher when a recipe calls for a cup or half a cup and you have a whole item. So what I also want to mention about bell peppers, what I want to mention, just tip it this way a little. Yeah. What I want to mention about bell peppers is we're all very conscious of the fact that we want to use fresh vegetables. And if it starts to feel a little soft, or the peel is a little bit wrinkly, it doesn't mean it's bad. You can still use it. And that's the idea. If it's on your counter and it looks like it's turning a little bit, but it's still edible, you could use it up and don't let it. No, you're all the way, there you go. Okay. Everybody good there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So don't be concerned. I would be concerned when you start seeing mold or you start seeing crevices in the side of the pepper. So we have our cupcake tin ready, and what I'm using is paper liners. That way the egg mixture will not stick to the pan. And I'm using 5 eggs. For anyone's concerned about the cholesterol issue and about whether or not we should have yolk, you can also make the same recipe with egg whites, and I will do 2 egg whites to 1 egg yolk. One whole egg, I will use 2 eggs. Did you have a question?
No, 1 whole egg. I'm sorry.
2 egg whites to 1 whole egg. So when I'm making this recipe, yeah. Okay. Okay, Gab, so you can bring me.
Oh, that's good to know.
Put it down. Because I just want to make sure that that's, yeah.
So for this, would you use 10 egg whites? So for this recipe, would you use 10 egg whites instead of 5 eggs?
Yeah, that I would yes, that sounds like a good ratio, but you might get a little more. You might get more muffins out of it, which is okay. So what we're recommending again the paper liners because they easily lift. Some paper liners have a non-stick parchment surface and some don't. So just to be on the safe side, you may use cooking spray, you may drizzle. So if you want to do just a light coating over it, I will do that just to make sure that it won't stick. Okay. So now we have 5 eggs. I don't use the mixer because I don't want to make another thing dirty. So I will use it by hand. I have whips. I have this little tiny cute little egg whip. And what I just do is really quickly, if you need the camera, Gab, maybe we might need the camera here a little bit. Yeah, I know it's a lot at once, but that's, and just by hand, whip that up really quickly. And you can take your mixture, because I like it colorful. The other thing you can use is chopped spinach. You can use broccoli. We have some broccoli here. So again, change it up. Zucchini, spinach, they all work very, very well. And we have a little bit of, we're gonna put some salt and pepper in. The salt's right there. Yeah, it's okay. Another one here. So we have, I keep an open salt, a little bit of salt. You can use white pepper if you don't like the color, and the black pepper. I don't mind it either way. A little bit of pepper. Again, whip that up. Again, if you can get me a small cup of soy milk. Soy milk? Yes. And then I will take the mix. Can everyone see? Yep. Yep. I'll take the mixed peppers. I'll put them in here like this. And then this recipe calls for milk, but I'll use soy milk, almond milk, regular milk. It really up to you. Pour a little in. Keep mixing that up. And cheese. Cheese is an interesting one. If you use regular cheese, I use the shredded. You can use cheddar or mozzarella. I happen to be using the dairy-free. I really love this brand, Daya. I'm not being paid, I promise. I just really, really love this brand of cheese. You can use feta cheese. You can actually fill the cups up and top it with cheese, whatever you like. So we put that in. I am using my hands. This is not to be feeding you, but I do know the ratio and the combinations. And then what I would do is take a half cup measure, maybe actually smaller one. Here I'll be using a quarter cup. And I take my tin, and it seems very, very liquidy. There you go, 1.
Sometimes
2.
I even add extra cheese because I love that.
Add extra cheese on top. And I fill it almost to, they don't rise the same way that muffins do. Remember that it's a quiche, and it will fall after it comes out of the oven a little bit. So I fill the cup a little more full than you would with a normal muffin. But keep in mind, I'm just demonstrating 6, but this will yield 12. And then we put them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. And why are there variables on cooking time? Because not everybody's oven is even. So what I do is I set my timer for 10 minutes and then I take a look. And if it's rising, then I know it has a few more minutes, but if it's golden brown on the top, then I know it's done. So I take them out after 12 minutes, and this is what it should look like. You see how high up, you can afford probably a little bit more there. Okay, and then we'll take that away and let that cook for 12 minutes. So
Gabriella, will you show us those, how full they are?
Yes. I was going to say, can you reshow that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And do you put the cheese on now or after they come out of the oven?
I put the cheese on now. I bake it with the cheese in it.
I love when it's like inside and it's all like melty and gooey, so that once you have the consistency that you want, like you open it up or you cut it open and it's like cheese comes right out. It's so
right. Yeah. I also like that there's not a crust, especially for the gluten.
Right.
But it's actually still pretty crispy on the edges, which is like what I love is that like I don't feel like I'm missing out on having graham cracker, like some sort of.
Cool.
What temperature do you put the oven on?
Yes, we preheat the oven.
Yeah, good question. I didn't mention that. Always have the oven, and then this is.
At what temperature? At what temperature?
This is at 350.
Oh. That was fast.
So that's what they're supposed to, hold up a little long. That's what they're supposed to look like. But you see how full they are? They fill the whole paper up, but they don't spill over like a regular muffin. So don't be shy about how much to put in. You can fill it almost to the top.
And if you don't finish it and need to store it, what you can always do is when you reheat it, just put more cheese on top of it or something else, and you can just have like a, almost like you redid it, and it's like very full and very good.
Cool.
So again, I'm moving very quickly, but
That was great.
how quick these items actually are and how easy they are to make. So the next one up is we're going to do a broccoli, walnut, onion salad. Can I give you that too, honey? Yeah. Okay, thank you, sweetheart. And this is, are you guys keeping frozen vegetables in your house? Wanted to talk about that a little bit.
You are.
Any questions about that, or frozen's fantastic. A lot of people say to differentiate between a frozen processed food and frozen vegetables. You know, they're frozen very quickly. You can keep large quantities. And what I do when I bring them home, if they come in very big bags, like this is actually the alternative I was telling you if you wanted to get frozen peppers. Sometimes I'll get them home and I'll break it in half and I'll freeze them separate. So I don't have the whole bag frozen or I have to defrost a whole entire bag. So even when I buy frozen and I take it home, I could still break it down to smaller quantities. Because I find that either the frozen amount is too small or too large. There isn't that good sweet spot often with frozen vegetables.
That's really, yes, I started buying more frozen vegetables when this happened because I figured that I wouldn't be able to get fresh produce as often. It comes in handy.
Yes. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the broccoli walnut salad. And again, this is really something that broccoli, I love broccoli. I can eat it every single day. It is one of the most healthiest food items on the planet. Cruciferous vegetables are shown to just be preventive in everything from cancer to heart disease and keeping your immune system strong for sure. But broccoli and cauliflower can be boring. You know, people tell me all the time at the end of the week, I want to eat broccoli every day. I want to eat broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower, but I'm just tired of it. So there is an endless, bottomless pit of things you can do with it. But I thought, what I want to demonstrate today, actually, can I have the cutting board for a second?
Yes.
What I want to demonstrate today is that you will also often get fresh broccoli in a bag. You can buy the whole broccoli and use the stalks. That is, I guess what I'm saying is I love the convenience of going to the store nowadays, and you can buy florets, you can buy whole, you can buy frozen, you can buy mixes. My favorite thing in the world is to go into the supermarket and get broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, snow peas, zucchinis, onions, all cut up in a bag. And you can make stir fry or you can bake them. What I do sometimes is I'll take mustard, turmeric, and olive oil, and I'll make a mix, and I'll pour it over the mix, and I'll roast it, and I will have turmeric cruciferous vegetables. So today what I decided to do, when I took them out of the bag, they're very large. So this is calling for 2 bunches of broccoli. And again, you can make more, you can make less. I don't think these freeze very well once it's made into a salad. So again, this might be something that you want to make small batch as you're going to use it. And if you're going to use frozen, only take out the amount you need. The thing with freezing is that if you're ambitious and you want to label all the frozen items when you bought the bags, I take that extra step. If I transfer the broccoli in a big bag to 2 small bags, I do label the day that I froze it. And I have a 3 to 4 month rule. That's about the longest I like to keep things in the freezer.
Whoops.
There's guidelines, and the one thing I always say, the #1 thing about decluttering and cleaning up your life, first place you go is to your spice cabinet, right? Take out the stuff that's 10 years old out of the bag. Go into the freezer. If you don't remember when you bought it, it's probably a very long time ago. So I also like to work directly into the Tupperware container because in that way it's in the bowl, ready to go, and I can refrigerate it as is, and I keep things a lot less dirty. So I have these broccoli. They're very, very large florets. So I'm going to take them out and cut them up a little smaller. But what I'm going to do here is this recipe calls for a dressing that's mayonnaise, honey, and cider vinegar. So I went actually last time, I don't keep a lot of mayonnaise in the house. It's just something nobody in the house seems to like. Is this not open, honey? If you want to get that open for me. The other thing you can do with this recipe is it's broccoli, walnuts, raisins, and onions. So you can put any dressing you want. Many people keep a lot of bottled dressing in their closet unopened. So if you have a dressing you like, whether it's vinaigrette or it's a creamy, a Caesar dressing with cheese, you can use any of those. You don't even have to stop and make the salad dressing. I'll just, show you a quick method of what I do. So again, very simple. It is apple cider vinegar, mayonnaise, and honey. And I use honey just to cut that sharpness. Do you have an open honey, sweetheart? Yeah, here we go. So again, honey, apple cider vinegar, and mayonnaise really, really quick. I pour it in. I am just eyeballing this, but what the measurements are is a half a cup of mayonnaise, 3 tablespoons of honey, and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And I'm sure you're hearing all the wonderful healing benefits of apple cider vinegar. It's not as effective when it's mixed in with something. It's really more effective if you drink it straight up. It's just a question of whether you can tolerate that. And it's got a taste that I'm not that crazy about. Honey, can I have another wire whip?
Yep. Oh,
a wire whip. Yep. And you can again scale all these recipes I'm doing today. You can scale them up. And nowadays we're not really entertaining, unfortunately. But if you want to make this for 6 people, which the recipe actually here calls for, this serves 4. You can make 8, you can make 16, just scale it up accordingly. And again, feel free to use whatever dressing you have lying around if that's easier. And I also tried to make these child-friendly, young people friendly, middle-age friendly, and I call old age friendly. That's something I want to point out. I know, Jeannie, our group tends to be women, middle-aged, a little bit older, right?
45 plus.
45 plus. But what I really want to mention is that foods for the life cycle, if you're cooking for children or you're cooking for older people, the nutritional density of the food that I talk about here in this book is really appropriate for all ages. I was never the one to make a really nice dinner for my husband and I and then give my daughter macaroni and cheese, although that's what she wanted. That's the funny thing. She said, I don't want to eat what you guys are eating. I want kiddie food. So we had an interesting dynamic with that because I didn't do the chicken nuggets, the mac and cheese, and the pizza. So now she can have that to her heart's content. So again, I take a wire whip and I just really quickly just whip this up until it's completely smooth. Also, it's like an emulsification process, and the mayonnaise base will help that. And we set that aside. So the first thing I do is just take the florets and just cut them up a little bit smaller, just because then they'll be bite-sized. It'll be much easier when you have it in a salad. The reason I'm making this ahead and letting it sit a little bit is because as the broccoli and walnuts and the onions for that matter, will marinate in the dressing, they'll be a little softer when you eat them. You can take a step of taking the broccoli and steaming them in a stovetop steamer, but I like them raw and crunchy, and with a little bit of dressing on it, it just gives that little bit of softness that is nice to eat. Did you want to add something,
totally. For me is that when I was in high school, I'm now currently waiting to start college, but we'll see how that looks. But what's great is that it was a really easy thing to make the night before, and then I would just grab and go, and I would have a huge salad for lunch every day, and it was really, really quick and really, really easy, and also really, really tasty. The nice thing about the salad is that, like, you don't have the classic leaves that are just gonna wilt, so everything kind of stayed fresh and crunchy and nice, and it's just really easy. So you make it the night before, you just grab and go in the morning. It works for when I had an internship or I was at, working during the day or just at school. It was really efficient and really quick, and that's where my mom and I actually agree on something that has to do with food, is that we wanted something quick and easy, So that was really, really exciting because I was like, oh, this is actually really good, Mom. Normally, I like my fair share of salads and I love them, but by the time it gets to lunch at school or by the time I'm there to eat, it's wilted, and I'm like, ugh, this is not appealing to me. And a lot of my friends also feel the same way, especially when we're trying to eat healthier. So this salad was like the perfect balance of not only being easy, but also allowing for it to be good and fresh and fun. So yeah, just wanted to add that in.
So what you're saying is it doesn't, because it's broccoli, it's crunchy, it doesn't get all.
Yeah, and it keeps
Yeah.
for, I would say it probably keeps up to 3 days. I would try to eat it within 3 days, but it stays very
It
nicely.
tastes very fresh within the first day. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just throw the broccoli right back into the salad. Everyone can see that. And I have chopped red onions. If you don't have red onions, you can use white onions. If you don't like onions, you don't have to throw them in, but I'll just sprinkle that on top. Also walnuts. I love the combination of broccoli and walnuts. Again, if you don't have walnuts in the house, you don't care for the flavor, slivered almonds is a great choice. Chopped up hazelnuts, whatever it is that you like, leave them out altogether. So I'll throw that in, adds to the crunch. This also will make you feel very full. You know, so if sometimes you'll have a salad and you don't quite feel satisfied or you don't quite feel full, you can finish the salad. I top it off with a little raisins because it's something that my family likes to eat. You can use golden raisins, you can use black raisins, you can use currants, dried currants, and any other kind of dried fruit if you'd like to make it more of a tutti frutti. And then I just take it and I toss it in the dressing, the mayonnaise dressing that I made, or any bottle dressing that you may keep in the house. And like I said, I have the Tupperware available to leave it in. And after it's all tossed, I pour it in. We set it aside. The other thing you can do is before you serve it, if you're having company, which I said, unfortunately, we're not today, but I still like to give the tips, is just you can also throw those on top. So there you go. And can you show that?
So sometimes I add even a little bit more dressing, a little less dressing, depending on how I'm feeling. But it's super quick, and it fills up a huge container immediately. And then sometimes I'll even bring like a couple crackers or something to have along with it. But it's really filling. And it comes out much bigger. Sometimes I use less, more, depending on my mood. But like you can kind of see.
Yeah, looks good.
It's really good. And sometimes I'll even ask my mom, like, okay, like what else can I like throw on with it if I'm feeling like extra fancy? So sometimes I'll have like extra containers of bell peppers on the side, just for an extra crunch or an extra snack. Although it's really filling, like I'm full usually until like 7, 8 p.m. at night from this.
Nice. I have recently used dates. I cut up dates for salad and everybody loved it.
It's so good, yes.
It was one of those things like I didn't have it. I think it called for raisins and then I just used the dates and so what I had on hand. And so
yeah.
I was kind of doing that before, but I didn't even realize it. I was doing a Patricia Greenberg move.
No, literally. What's also really nice is that you date syrup seal on, is that if you ever don't have like maple syrup or anything like that, date syrup is also a really good alternative.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
It's really, I love it. I had it a lot when I was abroad, but I really, really love it because it adds just like a hint, like a ton of sweetness, and you can just use a little bit and it goes a long way. So I sometimes use that for the truffles. Yeah, it's really, really good. And it's just easy. It's usually you can find it in a local health store, probably larger stuff. It's just, you have to search for it a little bit more. But it's really, really good.
Okay, I see it. It's called, you said it's Salon is the name of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the next thing I want to demonstrate is, this is a recipe that's near and dear to my heart because it was one of those things that Gabriella invented from what we had in the house. I think it was Taco Tuesday or something we were doing, and we didn't have the ingredients. And Gabriella says, well, have us some black bean and corn. And I said, well, okay, let's do something like that. We'll see what we can throw together. And so what we did on this one, let me get a mixing bowl, is, how many of you have beans in the closet? Canned beans, truckloads of them, right? And those are what we call like emergency packs, right? Well, I'm not going to use those beans because I need them in an emergency. And they pile up and they pile up and they pile up, right? So that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And I'm learning more and more as much as I cook, and I do cook every single day. Something my mother taught me, old wives' tale, if you will, but it actually isn't, is that we keep all this food in our house thinking, you know what, I'm going to need that canned bean, or I'm going to cook that in the event that I'm in lockdown or I'm home or I can't get to the store. What I'm going to recommend you do is to actually prepare food and freeze that, so that that way, when you're taking something out of the freezer, you're taking an already prepared meal. You know, what we tend to do is, and right now everybody's a little frightened and was hoarding food in the refrigerator. So let's take that broccoli out, let's take that chicken out, make a broccoli stir fry, and freeze it already ready to go. And that way you can just take it out and heat it up when you need to eat, rather than scrambling. So it's just an extra tip of why we have that. So this is, you know, again, a nice, for those of you in Texas, probably doesn't hold a candle, but black beans, corn, and red bell pepper. And again, we had the red bell peppers. You can buy them cut up, you can buy them frozen, you can buy them whole and chop them. But what I bought was the roasted, let me get the can here from Trader Joe's. Where did we have, oh, here it is. I buy the fire roasted red bell peppers, again, whatever level of heat. Gab, can you go in there? There's a tomatillo sauce and a salsa in there, and I think it's in the middle shelf. So I do that, and and they are long. I'll show you what they. Oh, here it is. Yeah, they're full size roasted red peppers in a jar. Okay, so what I did, in the sake of time is fleeting here, is I cut them up and I measured them in a small container. So we have our black beans. Now, people always ask me about draining. The liquid in the can of beans or the can of corn, the liquid's not bad for you. The food's been sitting in it all that time. It's just a question of what you want to make. So I don't drain the liquid if I'm making soup. If I'm making black bean soup, maybe a tomato-based, I pour the liquid in with it. But obviously, if I'm making a salad where I want the consistency more dry, I'll drain the liquid. Wonderful tip, which we're not doing today, but I did want to mention, is the garbanzo beans, the liquid in the garbanzo beans. A lot of people save that and set it aside and use it as a base for salad dressings. So I thought that's interesting. That's because it's thicker, you see, than in the black. So again, it's in this particular recipe, really quick. This is it calls for 1 can, and again, I tried to match up the sizes, the measurements to the size of the amount that you're buying. So you're buying a 15-ounce can of beans or corn. That's a standard size. So it's a 15-ounce can of beans. And if you guys know, I'm fudging a little bit on amounts for demonstration purposes. And then the corn. And then I take the roasted red peppers. I mean, this is so quick. And it calls for lime juice and olive oil. So I have a fresh lime here. And what I'm going to do here is just
cut it in half.
And I just squeeze it on top. Really simple. As you can see, I'm hands-on. I have more kitchen gadgets than I'll ever know what to do with, but I don't use them. I like putting everything together by hand.
It also saves so much time for cleanup.
It does save time.
Like, I'll come back to, like, I'll finish making dinner, and then I'll look at the amount of dishes that I have to do, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And I just also don't have the energy to do it. So it's just easier and quicker, and it saves a lot of time for cleanup.
I think that's a great idea. I love that you're thinking of that.
Yes. But I will tell you what's interesting is that I always like to clean as I go. So sometimes that's a little challenging. But guys and gals, that's your little fitness tip. After you're finished eating, that's a little bit of a workout, is to do your own dishes, right? It adds to those steps that you're trying to get on your daily step count, for those of you who are doing that. So here I take just a little green onion. Some parts of the country call this scallion, and we sprinkle that on top. You can also use cilantro, you can use basil, you can use parsley. Again, whatever greens you have, use them up, slice them up, and there you go. And I really love the way this looks.
And sometimes I'll even add different seasoning, more salt, pepper, garlic powder, things like that, that just add a little bit more of a kick.
And the green bit, oh, that's the green is the scallions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And what kind of dressing? I missed that. What kind of dressing was on that?
It's just drizzle a little
Lime
olive
juice.
oil and lime juice. Depending on, like on here, it's olive oil, lime juice, and a little sea salt. And I just drizzle that a little bit ahead into the red bell peppers. And then I squeeze the lime juice on top, so it's all mixed up in there. And it's really, again, if you like it a little saltier, go ahead and do that. You like some more green onions or scallions on top. And I just, if you look at the measurements I did in the recipe, which everyone's going to receive afterwards, you'll see that that is my ratio. I had Gabriella bring salsa out because what I do sometimes is I'll take 1 or 2 tablespoons of salsa and I'll toss the whole mix in the salsa before I put the green on top. And it gives it a little bit more of a zing. I think you might have mentioned that. Yeah.
Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I actually just like to keep the sauce on the side and just use this as either a side salad or something to fill the tacos that I'm having with the protein that I'm using.
And I actually I make something similar. It's a Mexican bean salad, sort of similar to that. And I usually, when it's left over, I use it to put in my quesadillas. It's wonderful.
That's what I do. I usually eat the bean salad and just throw something extra if I want not just cheese or not just something that's plain. That's a really also a great call.
Cool.
And I mentioned earlier that I'll take a cupcake tray and I'll put the liners in. I'll measure my ingredients in here. And then you just dump it out and you don't have 6 or 8 little tiny dishes to clean up. So last one, again, we're getting near time, but the last one, I already had the corn out, right? So I took the corn kernels. I will show you from here. This recipe, I had never seen this before and someone had brought it to my attention and I thought it was absolutely amazing. Gab, do we have a basil?
Yes, we do.
Over there, okay. So what I did was took a can of corn and I put a pan on low heat. I just want to show you, I hope everyone can see, this is just a little awkward from the standpoint here. I take this saute pan and just like a hint of olive oil. And I'm using the second half of the can that I used in the black bean corn salad. And I'm going to saute corn. And just until the corn gets a little bit brown, and the house will smell like popcorn. It's kind of fun. So really, that's all you do is just saute the corn. You don't have. You can use a little bit, a little bit of throw some other things if you want, but it's basically just corn and blueberries. So I saute the corn until it's brown. And again, for demonstration purposes, I'm doing this, but in the interest of time. So when we're done, we have our can of sauteed corn. Like I said, I'm doing that very quickly. And most people don't do this. They just throw the raw corn in a salad. You saute it and bring the flavor out a little bit. So I pour that in. Then I add a cup of blueberries.
It sounds so weird.
It sounds weird. Mm-hmm.
And when I first heard my mom talk about this, I was like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to eat this, Mom. Like, what are you talking about? And it's actually really simple, really fast. It's also colorful, which is actually more appealing than I thought it would be. And the blueberries actually have kind of a zingy, almost like they aren't as traditionally sweet mixed in with the other things. And it just adds kind of this contrast that I love.
And you can add fresh basil or dry basil. I bought a whole bunch of fresh basil a few days ago, and we had an aunt in day, and the basil was dry. So I pulled out of the back of my cabinet the dried basil leaves. Again, if you want to do some of the fresh, the green onion, the scallion on top, and just, again, real quickly, it sounds strange, but it's absolutely.
Can we see it closer? I want to see this closer.
Yeah. So blueberries, and it's sauteed corn with blueberries, and it's such a simple, easy, something you keep in. You have a can of corn. Everyone I know buys too many blueberries. They buy the big container because it's cheaper, and then you say, what do I do with the rest of them?
They kind of just sit there and like, it's happened to us so many times where like we don't know what we're doing, and then it's just all of a sudden there's mold on the blueberries and you can't use them. Yeah. So it's like, it's gross, and then you have to throw them out. So it's like finding fun ways that actually taste good to use in blueberries besides just smoothies or fruit. You can incorporate them into just different meals throughout the day.
And that's like, so that would be a lunch or dinner side salad, right?
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
And it seems like it's such a great thing for summer.
It is.
Yeah, so like I said, all these recipes I picked for today are for the summer. That's exactly right. I wanted some light, easy stuff. And I want to use food that I use today, food that goes bad really quickly. And that's the idea, is to try to keep on top of this stuff. So the worst thing that we are doing is throwing food out. I do want to make a little side mention. My sister-in-law was supposed to join us. Nareed, are you on today? Is Nareed here? She may not be.
Wait, hold on.
Is Nareed Grunfeld here?
Yeah, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hi. I am here.
Okay, so my beautiful sister-in-law, who is not in the food business but teaches me things all the time about food, is growing her own. She's actually, you know, we don't have a lot of time, but Nareed had mentioned it to me before we got on the air, that another step here is to actually grow your own vegetables, and you can do it in pots if you live in an apartment or small living area. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but Nareed said, you know, don't throw out those, you know, the end of the onions or the end of the celery or the end of the lettuce. If there's some things you could be doing with that. So I thought it was a great tip, and it's going to expand my repertoire for sure as I go forward. And Jeannie, maybe that's something we could talk about doing in the future. But I thought it was a great tip to research that a little bit and see if there's ways that you can literally recycle food.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's great. And you just got it. Mel, I don't know your full name. It just says Mellock. He says, you're both adorable. You need to take the mom and daughter show on the road. I agree.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think there were a couple questions. I know we're running out of time, but a couple questions about
Absolutely.
freezing.
Okay.
I guess like somebody was asking about freezing the eggs. Does it, like a quiche, it really does, it is okay to freeze those?
So let's bring that back. I have all the finished items for you, and I'll show you. Can you get me the plate
Yes.
of the quiche? Yes, so let me tell you how I do that. I know there's a lot of elaborate procedures, and the way that different items are frozen, some people suggest wrapping it in foil first. Some people just throw it in a Ziploc bag. I keep it in the paper container. Can everyone see that? And in fact, at this time, I kept it in the, where's our cupcake. I took the cupcake tray with the papers in it, and I wrapped that in plastic, and then I put it in an oversized Ziploc bag, and I froze it as is. And I took them out and I let them sit, and you can either reheat them in the oven for a few minutes, or you can microwave them. I will tell you with freezing anything egg, if it's frozen for a long time, then it sits out, and you wait to reheat it, you do get that gummy consistency. So the idea is to try to heat it up and serve it as quickly as possible after taking it out of the freezer. That will save from some of that unfortunate consistency that you get after freezing an egg product. But keep in mind, if you buy whole frozen quiches and things from the supermarket, you know, it's the same process. The egg dishes have been frozen. But what I wanted to emphasize here is that we're not freezing, is that we're using what we have in the freezer, what we have in the closet, what we have in the spice cabinet, and using it right away when you're out of ideas. And this has been a very unfortunate time, quarantining all this time. And I've even run out of ideas a few days here and there where I really didn't know what to do. But my beautiful daughter stepped up to the plate and said, hey, let's make this.
Stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, she did. So we had two heads, which is better than one in this household.
Well, I have a question too about, I like that you said you used the dry basil instead of the fresh basil, because that's my thing, because I don't necessarily always have all those fresh herbs on hand, even though I grow basil or whatever. But it's okay to use the dried versions of things.
Yeah, again, it depends on what you're using it for. The dried versions of everything are perfect for soups and casseroles, slow cookers, that kind of thing. The fresh is really comes in handy when you want to top something. So if you're about to serve a salad, you want to top it with fresh basil, or you want to top it with fresh cilantro or oregano, whatever it is you have on hand. So the dry is perfectly acceptable. And again, it speaks to exactly what you're saying, is that today I happen to not have the fresh basil. And I wanted to serve the salad. So instead of serving it with nothing, I use the dried basil on top, or you can toss it in. It's an excellent question, but if you have it on hand, if you grow it, and the one thing that's a little counter to what we're trying to do environmentally and ecologically I think unfortunately that's gone out the window right now with a lot of us having to use single-use bags and paper goods and so forth. But the fresh ingredients you'll want to buy in smaller quantities because they go bad very quickly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Or share it with a neighbor. Buy a package and everybody takes a little bit.
And I guys, I put Patricia's cookbooks in the chat, and I also put links to the 2 most recent for Amazon. And we are going to pick one of you after we get off. We're going to pick one of you, and you're going to get one of her books. And we'll let you know. We always send an email out after these events with the link to the video, and then you'll have the recipes, and we'll also announce the winner. And then once you see if you won, you just need to send me your address so we can get it to you. But this is so fun. Any other questions? Anybody? Come on, if you have one now. Anybody? I wish I had broccoli right now. I would make that salad.
I live off of that salad.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you want to show the finished of all of them? They're all in a...
That's exactly right. Gabriella was just saying.
Or do you want to
bring a laptop over there?
Sure.
No, bring it all over here, honey. This is good. It looks like there's a good enough view from here. So.
And you have a very beautiful kitchen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And
hello, everybody. I did this kitchen 21 years ago, and it's held up really nice. And we've actually done a lot of filming here. So.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, you can pan over it. I can hold them up one at a time. So that's the quiches. That's the truffles.
Yum,
The
yum,
truffles
yum.
are so
The
good.
truffles are absolutely delicious. They almost taste like candy bars. And here is the black bean and corn salad. And here's the roasted and sauteed corn, however you want to make it, with blueberries and green onions. And there's the broccoli.
My
walnut,
personal
and onions.
favorite.
Yay.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Can you freeze the truffles?
Yes. In fact, I made a huge batch the other day because I was playing with the recipe. And I forgot how fast I was able to make it. Throw it in, put it in the Cuisinart, mix it up. If you're going to use a blender, just quick tip, try to do one ingredient at a time because, this kind of mix is very, very thick and very dense, and they tend to get clogged up in a blender. So if you're using that instead of a Cuisinart, just add one item at a time as you're blending it. And they freeze beautifully. That's my go-to party item is when I'm having holidays where I'm having a lot of people, like 25, 30 people. These are the kind of items I'll make, and I'll scale up in direct proportion and freeze them ahead of time.
Very nice. Well, this has been great, Patricia. It's wonderful. And I think a lot of us are going to go out and get your book right now, especially summer. The salads and snacks are perfect for the summer. So we will definitely get that. And one of you is going to get a free copy. So stay tuned on that.
Thank you, everybody, so much. This is such a trying time, all over the country. And I wish you all the best and health and happiness. And Jeannie, I think on the book is my website, but you can also add the email if anyone has any questions after this.
I'll put it in the email, thefitnessgourmet.com, right?
Yeah, thefitnessgourmet.com is my website, and the email is thefitnessgourmet@mac.com. And if you just put The Fitness Gourmet in Google, you'll find all my stuff there.
Okay. And that will be in the email also. I'll send that out later today. But thanks to everyone, and I hope to see you at another event. And Patricia, we hope you'll do another event. And Olga, she and I have to talk about the next one. So
okay, bye, ladies. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Take care.